All right, guys, the light is green, so you may be able to hear me right now. Of course, we always give it a few seconds to make sure it is streaming. It looks like it is, so it looks like we are live. So what's up, everybody? Welcome to the latest episode of the Sim Standard Podcast featuring Smitty and myself, SimFBallCritic, along with AzureEffect, who will be coming back, when he gets a chance. He actually expressed that earlier in the week. Very, very busy schedule he has, man. 3 kids and a teacher at that. So, he makes it when he's able to make it. But he definitely said he wants to try to get back on when he can. But anyway, man, welcome, man. I'm fighting some type of sickness I feel coming on. I think Smitty might have transferred me his flu from the last couple weeks. Something's going on. But yeah, man, I'm gonna try to get through the show. I'll get through it either way, so don't worry about that. But I took me an airborne, man. Hopefully that knocks out whatever's trying to come on. But if not, I may be down for a few days. But we're gonna try to get into it tonight, man. We got a few things to talk about. First and foremost, I guess we'll start off the show like we always do. Of course, we don't have a dog in the race, but we can kind of talk about this past weekend in terms of the NFL and what we thought about the games and, who we expect to win the Super Bowl and things like that. And then we'll dive into the topics. So throwing it to you first, Smitty, man, how was your week? How did you feel about this past weekend's football games? And, who do you think is going to walk away with that W come next Sunday?
Oh, man. Hey, you know what? I will say this: the games were definitely close. Like, it was very entertaining for sure. I know usually I know it's always said, if you made better plays earlier in the game, it wouldn't have came down to this or to that or whatever. But I know we hold players accountable, we hold teams accountable, and all that stuff for how they're supposed to perform in games. Referees are the exact same, dude. Like, you got New Orleans on stomp. Like, they are trying, they've been lobbying so hard, no, we have to replay that, that end of the game there. Because real talk, I don't see, there's no way you miss that. There's no way you miss that kind of call. Like, my man got detonated and they didn't call it, and I'm like, that's literally it. You know what I'm saying? That's literally it right there. Like, it should be New Orleans, unless my man shanks a field goal or it gets blocked. New Orleans was this. It should be New Orleans and the Pats going to the Super Bowl.
Yeah. So,
and the other thing is, the crazy part is, even my man that was the defender is the same. Like, he knew he did it. He's just like, hey, the football guy smiled on me and I got away with one. And I'm like, yeah, that's literally what happened. Because he got away with something blatant. And it was funny to see somebody posted a video clip where they replicated that situation in Madden, where they basically hit stick the receiver, and they called the they called the PI there. So it's funny to see that, and it's like, yo, Madden got it right. How come the NFL didn't get it right? And then it doesn't help that the guy that was the official was a former Rams player, and all that stuff. So it's like the guy was looking. When they took a picture of the play, my man was looking at it, and then he doesn't call it. Like, come on, man.
Yeah.
So that's corny. That's corny right there. And those are the kind of things that are pivotal to a game. Period, point blank. And that right there, that was crazy. But nevertheless, Rams won. They're in the Super Bowl, and then the Pats. Look, they got good defense. That team is coached up, man. That team is coached up. That team is they're more seasoned. They got more seasoning than Lowry's right now. You know what I'm saying? Like they are good. Like from top to bottom, they do a real good job coming back. And I mean, the thing is, before the game even kicked off, the Chiefs defense extremely suspect. So with their defense being suspect, it isn't a surprise, especially when it's the when you're going up against a guy like Tom Brady. You know what I'm saying? Or not just Tom Brady, but when you're going up against the Pats, because it's both sides of the ball here, offense and defense. But it was nuts. You know what I'm saying? The game was good, very entertaining game. It wasn't. There weren't any blowouts. But once again, few key plays they made, and they took it home. You know what I'm saying? So as far as Super Bowl is concerned, oh man, I want to say, dang, it's kind of a hard call to really make, but I'm going to say I want the Rams. I want to say I want the Rams to win because Sue being a former Detroit Lion and all that, you know what I'm saying? I want him to come away. I want him to get a ring. You know what I'm saying? I definitely want him to get a chip. So for that standpoint, yes, I want them to get it. That's mainly it though. Otherwise, hey, Tom Brady, he's a Michigan, he's a U of M product, so I can't get mad if he come away with it. If they come away with another one again, or at least he could definitely go out on top. If he wins this one, I think it's time to hang it up. Just hang it up, unless you really just got an itch to scratch. Because I mean, the way Tom been playing, it's not like he can't keep going. But at the same time, when you've won as much as you have, pretty much, and you've accomplished what you've accomplished, why keep going? Just because. You know what I'm saying? Well, like, go away when you could straight up just walk away from the game, man. But that's what I pick with that. Last thing I will say is, and this shows with the Detroit Pistons, look, Blake Griffin has been balling. I mean, he's been balling for us all year. He's really the only player that really sticks out. Andre Drummond, the whole team, great lack of consistency, very disappointing because they have more than enough talent to be one of the best teams in the NBA, let alone the East. And the interview yesterday, I know that's been talked about a lot today and stuff on some shows and all that stuff. Definitely locally here it has. But it's very symbolic of the problem with the team. Like, they won last night against New Orleans, but he was sitting, like, Blake was in his interview or whatever, and he was just saying, he was basically going in on the team. And he was talking about how the team, they're underperforming. They're not closing teams out. He's like, this is why we lose a lot of games, because we get very too lax. We don't take care of business. And then you see Reggie Jackson come through and basically photobomb in the middle of his interview or whatever, acting silly. Now, he didn't know Blake was going in on the team though. But for him to photobomb, it's kind of like, you see what I mean? Like, you could see it on Blake's face. Like, he tried to be all he was very subtle with it, but at the same time, it was very clear to see he's like, you see why we don't close out games, and you see why we're in the state we're in, because we could barely win a game, and then dudes want to act like they want to celebrate like we've really done something when we haven't really done much of anything. And silliness like that from Jackson, which Jackson is definitely part of the problem. He needs to be dealt, like, flat out. And because of that, that's why, like, guys like him and the way he performs, that's why we're in the state that we're in as a team. And we should be doing way more at this point, and we're not. Unfortunately, but we're just not. So I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if any moves are going to be made or anything like that. Hopefully before the deadline, some kind of move is made. Because real talk, the way that Blake is playing and his mind frame in terms of where he's at, he may mess around and try to get out, to be quite honest. If Detroit doesn't, if ownership or management doesn't do anything to try to make some moves, he's gonna. I think he'll be gone in the summertime. I think he'll be out of here. So, but I'll throw it to you, Sim.
Yeah, man. I think those games were absolutely crazy in terms of some of the outcome as far as the refereeing. I enjoyed both games. I put aside my feelings of the fact that my team is not there. I'm just a football guy, so I was able to enjoy the games. Oh man, the Saints. Oh, that's a tough way to go, man. I mean, it's funny, man, because I see it. I'm gonna speak to my Steelers fans real quick. We need to stop all of this, man. Oh, that's karma. That's karma. Listen, that ain't no karma for Joe Hayden being called pass interference against Alvin Kamara in that game. It's not karma for Hayden also being called again on that 4th and 1 or 4th and 2 where there was a kind of a bang play. But guys, we need to cut that out. How are we gonna sit there and act like the league is against the Steelers? Oh, that's karma, and the refs gave him one back. Whatever. That's so crazy to me. And my opinion is, it's like Smitty said, I want the refs to just get it right. Just get it right. Just get it right, man. That's it. And there's no way in the world, looking at that particular play, there is no way, in my opinion, no way in the world that you can sit there and say, nah, that wasn't interference. I mean, the man is watching it. He's sitting there watching it play out. Come on, bro. And I don't care whether you a Saints fan or not. Listen, I feel your pain on that one. That's a tough way to lose a game. Because, again, like Smitty said, players could have made more plays in that game. The Saints had an opportunity in overtime. Fowler gets great pressure. Breeze throws it up. It gets picked. I get all of that. But we can't sit here and act like that play didn't cost the Saints the game, because they could have essentially ran the clock out. And if you don't call pass interference, you have to call helmet to helmet. You might have to call a defensive receiver. I mean, come on. What do we always see, Smitty, every week? I know you do the same thing I do watching your team. When you see your DB in man-to-man coverage, you probably screaming at the TV, turn around, look for the ball. Just look for the ball. They're not going to call it.
Yeah.
My man ain't paid
nothing.
Yeah, because he probably could have picked it off.
Yeah. He was in position.
I mean, he just blasted old boy. And then at the end of the, for him to admit and say, I was early. I was just trying to not get beat and not give up the touchdown. So that's crazy. That's a tough way to lose, man. I'm glad it wasn't my team, because I would have been losing my cool off of that one. It was some funny business in that Patriots game too, man. That roughing the passer call on Chris Jones. Come on, man. That was ridiculous. One or two of those catches, was questionable. The Edelman muff punt, that one was interesting because there were clear angles showing that it didn't touch him, but there was that one angle where you could see the thumb of the glove actually moves. And again, I know that's a tough call, but I feel like in those situations, if you see that little bit and it was called that he touched it, you might have to keep it. Because to me, I don't think every angle was conclusive. A few of them were, like the head-on shot angle was definitely, I don't know if he touched it. But that one angle when they showed it brushed that glove, man, hey, you got to stick with the call. But it is what it is, man. The New England Patriots are the New England Patriots. Tom Brady is Tom Brady. Gronkowski makes one heck of a catch over Eric Berry. Eric Berry in great position. I mean, it is what it is. It's New England. I don't know what's going to happen, man, as far as my Super Bowl prediction. I kind of feel like the experience and the moxie of the Patriots will get them through. But you never know, man. It might be time for, I don't want to say changing of the guard. Obviously not that, but it might be the time for the young coach to shine, man. McVay might get it done. We shall see. I feel like in order for them to win, though, they're going to have to get pressure up the middle, which they have the best guy in the league at doing that in Aaron Donald. So it's going to be interesting, man, to see how Belichick, deals with that, being that Sue also showed that he could be a force in the last game. Keep them two guys in the middle. It could get ugly for Brady if they get pressure on him, but we'll see, man. I'm going to just enjoy the game the best I can. Of course, I don't want the Pats to get another one. I really don't. I'm tired of seeing them, but, you got to give them their credit. That's about all I got on that, man. So, we shall jump into the topics. And I don't know, Smitty, where you want to start, man. I'll read them off. They're pretty much all in conjunction with Madden. Basically, one thing that I wanted to talk about, I didn't discuss with Smitty earlier, but I had saved this article. We want to talk about Madden 19, man, being the top 4 top-selling game in 2018. That's very interesting. And this is coming from GamesIndustry.biz. The article and the link is in the description. But I want to talk about that a little bit. But we also want to give shout-outs, man, to Hollywood Sports. He gave us a topic in regards to the aggressive catch. I'll read it to you here verbatim, what he put on Twitter. He did a poll on it. He basically says, this topic is... Oh, oops, I'm reading my own typing there. Let me go to where he said. Here we go. He says, with aggressive catch used, covered receivers can still catch the football in triple coverage. They reduced the success rate on the aggressive catch by 60%, and it still didn't stop that high success rate. And his question is, should the overpowered aggressive catch be removed from Madden Football? So we want to discuss that a little bit. And then the last but not least, or whenever, whatever order we go in, we'll talk a little bit about the title update. I haven't had a chance really myself to play yet, but Smitty and I will kind of discuss that, maybe discuss some of the notes in that particular update, and talk about a lot of people are already not happy with the patch, this one, and overall across the year, a lot of people are displaying their frustration about how the game continues to get worse throughout the year on a yearly basis. So we'll talk about that a little bit as well. So where you want to start at, Smitty, man? I mean, it's all Madden related, and I'm sure all of this stuff will tie together. But what you want to hit on first, man?
We could talk on Hollywood's point. Talk about the aggressive catch.
Yeah, man. What do you think about that? Because we could take that in so many different directions. But what do you think initially about his point there?
I mean, initially, I don't think it should be lowered. I think it should be left alone, to be quite honest. This reason why I say that is, I mean, heck, you could look at any week in football, but you can especially look at situations like yesterday. I mean, think about like what happened, not yesterday, from Sunday. That clutch situation with Gronk, passes being thrown to Edelman, the pass that Kelsey, had caught against the defenders. That is why certain cornerbacks and certain safeties and such, only select corners and safeties get that big money, because it's extremely hard to cover a receiver. It's extremely hard to stop them. And I mean, regardless if you're playing zone or if you're playing man defense, You know what I'm saying? If you prevent somebody from throwing to that particular side of the field, regardless of how good the receiver is, because the defensive back or that defender, or maybe you have a trio of defenders or whatever, like Legion of Boom, for example, when they were together. When you have that kind of effect, that makes a world of a difference. So when you look at the aggressive catch, okay, and we've talked about this in the past, but think about what happened when me and Sim went to the studio back then for Madden 16. I'm sorry, I had a slight brain fart there. But when me and Sim went to the studio and came back, right? when we were at the studio and we came back and we're up here playing and we're talking about our experience with Madden with each other. See, unfortunately, y'all didn't get to play the version of Madden that we got to play. The game we got to play, animations and the two-man animations they had in there, even though we weren't a fan of it, but for the great majority, the two-man animations that were triggering were they made sense. If you had a short DB, tall wide receiver, like at the time Dorial Green Beckham was in the game, 6'5" receiver going up against a 5'9" wideout, you high point that pass 7 to 8 times out of 10, your receiver should come down with it. And that makes sense. 5'9" versus 6'5". High point pass, depending upon when you go up and get that thing, you should be coming down with it. If you have an elite receiver going up against a defensive back, you have to play that receiver the best way you possibly could. The thing is, the offense and defensive matchups were balanced. So it was like if you're playing up against a good DB and you have that tall receiver, that's the thing. Like all of those matchups made sense. It wasn't just ratings only, but it was also like their height mattered. You know what I'm saying? Like size and everything. So those various things they took into account of what kind of animation would trigger. Now, even though the one-handed catch animation was overkill, yeah, I wanted that to be tuned down in terms of the frequency of that animation triggering. But wide receivers winning over defensive backs, no. That needed to keep happening. And that was so key because the cool thing about it was, especially when me, Sim, and AZ went to the studio and played, we were like, you see how these matchups are mattering a lot more now, right? It all depends upon how you play. Like I had Kelvin Benjamin. What was it? We had I can't think of my man. Rashawn Mathis, I think at the time was one of our DBs.
Yeah.
He was on our team at the time, and I was going up against Kelvin Benjamin. So I'm playing, and it's like he like Cam kept throwing it to him. Every time he high pointed it, excuse me, if he'll try to play the receiver. Sometimes he would get it. A good amount of the time he wouldn't get it because Kelvin's bigger than him. He just had the size. And he's not bad at catching the ball either. Well, at least at that point in time, he's not bad at coming down with that ball either. So it made sense to see him win a lot of those situations. But when I did get the breakup, the animation made sense. You know what I'm saying? Had to play the receiver. Couldn't play the ball. If I played the ball, I'm getting toasted every single time. But when I played the receiver, though, I had a better chance, especially depending upon the position. I had a better chance at getting at that ball and knocking it out of there. At least having the two-man animation that made sense to try and knock it out. What happened was this game came out, and you heard Rex clearly say, y'all better quit holding triangle and square. Y'all better quit holding triangle and start holding that X button, y'all better start playing that receiver. Because if you guys don't play that receiver, you guys are going to get toasted a lot. And that's literally what happened. And people were complaining because they're like, oh, I want to hold triangle and Y and be able to stop everything. Like, no, they changed the game. They adjusted it. So when you look at, this is the point that I've made that I still haven't had an answer to yet. And this is since Madden 16 came out. I asked the question, how many DBs in the NFL right now are better, even back then, are better at playing wide receiver than an actual wide receiver? Like, I mean, how many times are we going to see Pat Pete Pat Pete was elite at that time, but how many times are you going to see Pat Peterson lining up in the slot? Oh, man, Larry Fitzgerald down. Oh, don't worry. Pat Pete got it. Come on in, dog. You got that. No. He's on defense for a reason. You know what I'm saying? Darius Slay. He wasn't elite like that at the time. He was all right. He was starting to get good. Same deal. It was like I wouldn't say if one of our Calvin hurt his foot or something like that. Oh, it's okay. D Slay got that. No, why would I put him in? They rather put in somebody from the practice squad and throw them in at wide receiver before they put Slay over there. You see what I'm saying? And that's the point I'm getting at, is that, like, these wide receivers are better than these defensive backs. That's why when you see these wide receivers, they only need a smidge of room to come away with that ball. Defensive backs are not always going to be able to get to that ball like that. They're not going to be able to make them stops like that. It's somebody like, that's why you look at a guy like a Richard Sherman. He's unique in the sense that in college he played wide receiver and was converted to a defensive back, and he panned out. Plus he's like 6'3", so that makes a world of a difference. So he's tall and he's able to keep up. And he knows how to play that ball too. So he's really, really good at it. That makes a world of a difference. But when you look at how it is in Madden, and when people say, like, you're seeing, these ridiculous catches the way they happen. Now, I'll say that, look, we all know that Madden's gameplay needs work. Yeah. There's no question about that. And like Sim and I had said, even when they introduced the two-man animations with these catches, we didn't like it. We didn't like it in principle because we know it's going to present that problem. The same problem that we've been seeing since they've been brought in. The shifting, the warping, the popping. Like Sim put out his video earlier today. Same deal. Wide receiver all of a sudden just giving up on the play, not even looking at it because it's part of a two-man animation that's already predicted. Like, that was the problem. That was the big problem once the game had came out. You know what I'm saying? Like going back to Madden 16. Once the game got patched and everything, I'm like, dang, look, I understand people want balance and everything, and I appreciated even seeing D Slay be able to do some work. Be able to do more work than he honestly should. But I mean, he went from being average to somewhat good defensive back to all of a sudden he's the next coming of Deion Sanders because the game got nerfed. And they made it where, all of a sudden, I don't have to play the receiver. I could just play ball all day. And all of a sudden he breaking passes up left and right. Like, nah, that shouldn't have been the case, man. And I honestly, Sim 2, we want this game to go away from the two-man animation. Be like FIFA and even PES. Be like those games. Have the animations in there that replicate according to the situation, but then let everything be loose in terms of control. If a DB swats and he's out of position and I go for a high point kind of catch, it should be two different animations. One is context, and both of them, both animations should be contextual in regards of what the situation is. And the crazy thing is, even playing Madden 19 now, it happens. It happens occasionally. You'll see that DB swat, and then you'll see me go for a rat catch, and you'll see the arm swat by as I go for the catch, and everything is respected. The body, the ball, all that. And it's crazy when I do see that stuff happen, and I'm like, see, if they could just get this happening all the time, the game would be much, much better, at least in that regard, than what we have at this point. And I'm not, and I mean, don't get me wrong, what Hollywood is saying is on point, but all that EA needs to do, you could leave the catch percentage high as their wide receivers. They're supposed to be able to come down with that thing. But, and this is a point I've even made back then. If you just watch a weekend of NFL football, you will see high point catches, rat catches, whatever. All the styles that you see that are named and labeled in Madden, you'll see receivers outplaying DBs every single week. It's going to happen. And I mean, you'll see top end DBs go up against dudes that are signed from the practice squad, and they'll get torched on a play, or they'll get beat at times on plays. That happens. You know what I'm saying? That happens. I mean, look, Pat Pete, shut down defender and everything like that, owning it, killing it as a cornerback. When he first lined up against Amari Cooper, he got burnt off of a curl route. This is a top end defensive back, and Amari Cooper, he caught that thing, came out of that curl. As soon as he caught it, turned that thing upfield, left Pat in the dust. And Pat was over top. He was on top of the play, and then he got straight burnt. So it's like anybody can get toasted. I mean, I know Amari Cooper's not the greatest example, but my point is that, like, even with my Detroit Lions and everything, we've had receivers like Mike Furry and Mike Williams and guys like that are not household names. Joseph Fourier and all that. Brandon Pettigrew. I've seen these guys out jump elite defenders. You know what I'm saying? Catch the ball in traffic in the midst of pressure when they're not good receivers like that at all. And they were able to make plays like that. So it's like the plays at the end of the day, they can make the plays. They should always be able to make the plays. But the way that defenders play against it, there needs to be a lot more variety and variance there. Because like I said, if you play FIFA or if you play PES or NHL or any of those games, they have contextual animations. They have contextual awareness in their game. So meaning that if the ball is kicked to a certain spot, their limbs, like the players' limbs, they have the base animation, but then after that, there's a level of contextual awareness to it. So like, let's say if I'm trying to stop a pass or I'm trying to block a shot and it goes a certain angle, they'll try to extend their leg out to that angle, or they'll try to lean their body, contort it to that angle. I didn't do a certain button combination. All I did was hit circle, because that's how I do the lighter contest or the lighter defend. But then after that, the player will contextually do the animation. Like sometimes if they slide their leg out, they'll extend it a little bit more because that's where the ball is heading. So they'll try to extend a bit more to try and stop it. Or they'll turn their back because, they can't use their hands. So they'll turn their shoulder, or they'll turn their back to the ball because they try to lean a little bit with it so they could try and block the shot. That's all within me just doing one button press. And the crazy thing is, when I do that input, there is no two-man sequence. There is no, oh wait, I'm gonna do this, and then the offensive player is gonna do that. It's no. It's what I choose to do, versus what they do. And at the same time, even the whether I'm on defense or offense, they're gonna contextually play out the animation based off of the situation and where, and in relation to the ball at that point. That's why I've done videos in the past saying to get that true wide out DB interaction, do a corner kick in FIFA and watch how it plays out between the offense and defense on those jump ball situations. Watch how the defender is going to try and head it out of there or try and kick it. Like they're going to do a basic, and then, like I said, it'll be a basic animation, hit and circle on offense or defense, and watch how they contextually interact with each other and with the ball. And you also see how the two-player animations work together. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, two-player animations. Well, they do have two-player animations, but they're so subtle that you don't lose control in terms of what you're doing. Like, if I want to aggressive tackle, if I want to, do more of a conservative tackle, pass, whatever, in the midst of pressure, I could do it all. You see what I'm saying? Now, success rate's going to be a whole other thing based upon the situation, but that's the whole point. That's why games in FIFA and NHL and PES and such, even UFC to an extent, especially when it comes to the striking, you have that level of contextual play along with the pre-recorded animation. So it's like when you see somebody try to do a Superman punch and you see somebody do a kick and you see how the foot wraps around the back of their neck or whatever based off of how they move, it amplifies the damage even more. But you can see it though. You see contextually like, dang, that looks sick. Man, that knockout looked crazy. Oh yeah, that's hot right there. Same deal when you look at these other sports games, except they're a lot more looser to physics. That's why with NHL, even with NHL 19, they have the skating and everything where, based upon the player's physical attributes, they are going to, their style of skating is going to be different. So just think if you wanted to recreate NHL, you can definitely do that because they give you the tools. It's like 2K with the jump shot creator. You know what I'm saying? You can create your own, like if you wanted to create a draft class, you can legitimately do it. And if you watch these collegiate and overseas players, you can actually mimic them to some kind of honest extent because they give you the toolkit to do it. And then the gameplay is going to reflect that based off the animations that you give them. That's the kind of stuff that we need to see happening in Madden. Now, I know we're talking about a catches situation, but that's the stuff that we lack when it comes to playing Madden. It's everybody's able to do everything. There isn't anything specific for a bigger receiver or a lumbering receiver like a Gronkowski or a Kelsey versus somebody who's more agile and able to do a lot more of the circus catching like Odell Beckham. You see what I'm saying? And I mean, I know, to bring up the game again, but APF had that kind of stuff in it. You know what I'm saying? That's why Jerry Rice was dang near a cheat code in that game. But the crazy thing is, Jerry Rice felt the most unique out of all the other receivers in the game. Michael Irvin did not play the exact same style of Jerry Rice, and he shouldn't. And that's the whole thing. They're both great receivers, but they both played out differently. Different animations, they're classified by different actions that they all performed on the field. And we should be seeing that kind of stuff happening in Madden. So that's why when I say have it at 60%, you could have it at 60%. It could be at 80%. It's all about how you have the game tailored in terms of on the defensive side to be able to combat it. If you loosen the game up to, let's say you loosen the game up to physics. The ball is completely loose to physics. All players and how they interact, completely loosened up to physics. You do that, you could have the catching be at 60%, 80%, whatever. you'll be able to tell a lot more as to why that pass got broke up, though, too. Because, like I said, for those of y'all that, if you mess with FIFA at all, you can truly see the differential between both, both games and how it reflects in terms of animations and what you're able to actually do and can't do. And then you could truly tell and say, oh, dang, see, he got his hand in there on that play. He got his hand in there. Plus, this dude hit him on the backside. This guy clipped his leg or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Let's say you got two or three defenders or whatever. One guy tries to play the receiver. You see animation that plays that. Two guys try to play the ball, and one of them end up knocking it out. One DB didn't quite get his hand there, but the other guy got his hand there and knocked the ball out. That kind of stuff is the stuff that you'll see happen, that you can see happening in a game like FIFA or a game like PES. You see what I'm saying? Because you have the animations and everything are loosened up for that kind of stuff to happen. So he said Matt 10 said FIFA's not the best comparison in this. I'd have to disagree with you on that one, partner. Just from what the game has animation wise and how it flows. That's where I'd have to have the disagreement, because just from that standpoint. Now I'm not saying I'm like the ultimate soccer head and all that stuff in terms of everything soccer relative, but from what I see from when I play, I look at these situations and it's like, man, I can only imagine if they did something like this and had it in Madden though, and they just put it in the context of American football, the game would be much, much better. And it has a lot more diversity in terms of what happens every game, because that's what football's supposed to be. Football is not supposed to be a uniform sport. You know what I'm saying? It shouldn't be a uniform sport. So
yeah, it's interesting, man. I always get, you always get a few people that will combat that. And, I just like Smitty just said, I'll be the first to say I don't even have to say I don't believe. I definitely know for a fact that Smitty and I are never attempting to compare apples to apples when it comes to FIFA. Nor am I doing that with MLB. I don't know those sports as well to know how well the game actually replicates its real life counterpart. With baseball, it's a lot easier. I actually played baseball back in the day, a little bit in high school here and there, but I never got into the knickknacks of it. But it's easier to follow, and I could tell, in my opinion, that MLB definitely replicates baseball very well as far as what I see on TV. Now, there's a lot of people who've always, mentioned to me as well, no, man, the pitching is off, and this is off, and this is off. They may very well be right. I don't dispute that. Bates in 87. Had an opportunity to meet that guy a few years ago down at EA. He's a big FIFA head, and he even told me FIFA is really not as as he hears a lot of us guys say. And we had a great conversation, and then he understood where I was coming from. So basically, I say all that to say this. What we're basically saying, man, is when we look at FIFA, we're just talking about how the ball physics, the one-to-one interaction, the player movement, the awareness, and the behavior of the players. That's really what we're saying. We would like to see that play out in Madden. I definitely can't speak on how much of a sim that game is, because I don't know soccer like that. So, and I think you guys understand that. And Madden, I don't think you're challenging that. I'm just saying I want to make sure everybody understands where we're coming from whenever you hear us refer to FIFA. We're just talking about the principles that we see, or things that we physically see happening in that game that we would like to see happen in an American football style game, being Madden. As far as the aggressive catch, man, I agree in principle with what Hollywood is saying, but I also feel the same way of what Smitty is saying. The problem is with Madden is, y'all hear me say this all the time, is how they choose to replicate situations. I mean, I've seen some of the craziest catches in the world. and the competitive guys are posting this stuff on Twitter and in their streams. Yeah. I mean, this stuff is unacceptable because what's happening is everybody's doing it. That's the problem. It's not like it's, and Smitty will like this, it's not like it's Calvin Johnson on the goal line and Matthew Stafford just throws it up and this dude just uses every bit of his 6'5" and his strength and goes up and snatches it away from people. It's not like it's just him doing it. It's almost every receiver that these guys are putting on their ultimate team or even in regs. And that's the part. They have to find a way to start separating these players, man. They have to. That's the issue. And like Smitty said, I want to see a situation. As a matter of fact, Smitty, when I was watching the game, that was exactly what I said. Like, oh man, Grump, oh, he just won. He won the best of that matchup. I want to see that in the game, as I should. You know, I should be able to, even though he's a smaller guy, and even though he's probably no longer going to be with my Steelers, we'll see what happens. But you want to see a one-on-one situation with AB, and he's making this crazy catch, because that's Antonio Brown. He's proved to be able to do that. Or an Odell Beckham. And also, I'll take it a step further. You would like to see a Doug Baldwin do something like that, because he makes some incredible catches as well. What we're basically saying, man, is they have to find a way to allow these skills to start playing out. And I don't even, Smitty, I don't even want to say that it has to be proven in the real world, because I didn't even know who David Tyree was until he made that catch.
Oh.
You know what I mean? And before then, we might have said, man, can't nobody make no catch like that, but he did it. So it's a tough balance. So that's the reason why I don't just want it taken out. But they have to find a way to, A, provide way more scenarios and way more possible outcomes when you have these situations. And B, like you said, it has to get to a point where physics is augmenting the animations in the scenario. You know, 3 bodies go up. At that point, it should be a loose cannon. Like, oh, what's going to happen? We don't know. Because they all going to go into the trying to make this catch. Somebody's limb is going to collide with the other. And that's what the game should be. And that's the game we don't have. It's more or less, oh, they're going to win the aggressive catch, so we're going to just make them catch it regardless of whatever else happens. That's the problem.
Yeah.
And, you know, I talked about it a little bit in the video I put out today, man. You know, where I got to give 2K credit. They said that they were pretty much trying to get rid of those sequences, and, hey, they've reduced it greatly. You know, I can't sit here and say they're all gone, but they're not as crazy as they once were. Where, I mean, people are warping crazy together. I mean, you literally have moments that, dare I say, I've seen moments in 2K that I've seen in FIFA in terms of the one-to-one interaction. I was like, whoa. Now, there are other times when you kind of feel like, oh, they're sticking me in this animation, but at least they've minimized what once was there in the prior year. EA hasn't done that. That's how I feel. I feel like Madden is still sitting at the same point, and they haven't aggressively gone after, again, Rex said it a long time ago, poetry in motion. That didn't just mean RPM, which that looks like it's not even really playing out the way it was advertised. But that doesn't just mean player movement as far as, you know, running and things like that. It also meant animation and animation quality and how things play out when 2 players collide. So that's where I'm at, man. That's where I'm at with it. It's at this point they got to do something because we're sick of it. You know, and it's sad, man, because as much as if Madden gets on my nerves, man, it's funny how I still can find a good time in Madden in our league. Like right now, we about to start a draft at 9. And because of the camaraderie that all of us have, it's fun. Like, we've made this draft process fun. Like, all of us posting little write-ups and things like that, and et cetera, et cetera. But you know what I'm saying? It's like the game just doesn't present that feeling. You know, look at all that NBL does. Beautiful stuff. And shout outs to them. And look at all of the things that, you know, my man Deuce Douglas does in his presentation. And
yeah,
you know, we have to, and I know I'm getting a little off cuff a little bit, but we have to make this stuff work. You know what I'm saying? It's not like it's already in the game, and let alone the gameplay. But I think that's where my frustration lies, man. Even though the gameplay ain't 100%, maybe it would take a little bit away of my frustration if I had a full-fledged, blown-out franchise like these other games have. You know what I mean? Where you could get lost in it. But that's just how I feel about the aggressive catch. And you said PX1 wanted to come on for a minute?
Yeah. He's trying to get his name and all that, so he'll give me that in a moment.
Yeah, that's what's up. When he comes on, you can bring him on.
Yeah. But
yeah, go ahead.
Oh, Nate want to get on too. Oh, okay. He's saying that he's sending us that. And also, let me say this too. Shout out to David West and Smooth 7 for the donations earlier. $5 came from Smooth. Shout out to him. We definitely appreciate that. And $10 donation from David West. Appreciate that as well.
Round of applause.
What he said, guys, love the conversation as always. I'm actually on early enough to catch some of the show. We'll wrap it up at work tonight. Keep fighting a good fight. No doubt, bro. No doubt. So, but yeah, no, like you said, and I mean, I know you. That's the whole thing about it, bro. Is that we have to keep being creative with the game when the game should be doing the creative stuff, and we just make our spin-offs based off of all the work they've done. Madden Bomber League and mad props to them, but it's like stuff that they do is like, man, shouldn't Madden be doing that?
Oh man,
remember when Madden used to have the magazine? Well, no, it wasn't Madden, it was NCAA. Remember they used to have the Sports Illustrated covers and stuff like that in their game, highlighting certain players and what they did and all that stuff. It's like, and that's the other thing too. Remember in Madden, or at least Madden 05, remember when they had the newspapers from respected cities? They didn't have every paper, but some of them they make up. But they had some of the official newspapers of some of the NFL cities. And when news popped off or whatever about games and trade talk or team news happened, you would see, you know, that stuff would pop up in the game. They put that in the game. Mm-hmm. And it's like, when you have that, and this is where part of the frustration and everything comes in. Because it's like, when you have people, okay, all right, I'm going to add him on here in a moment, PX. But when you have people that are doing all these additional things, adding on to the game and such, and then you have guys that, from a nostalgia standpoint, have been playing this already, and like, we've played it, and we keep seeing things being further took out of the game, and only a little bit is being done to push it forward. But we're supposed to be on this generation of console gaming where we're supposed to be able to get so much more out of these games.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to lend a lot to the frustration that people have. And then that's when the expectation turns around and says, well, how come we don't have this when we should have it? How come we see these trailers for the game running and moving in ways we never thought we'd be able to see before? Why don't we have that now? Why isn't it here? Like, look, I'm gonna show something. I'm gonna put up a video. I didn't have a chance to upload it. I should be able to upload it tonight. I got a video showcasing Madden 06 passing with a pass that I had completed. And it's a pass, and it's the manner in which the pass was received. You can't even do that in Madden right now. It's not possible.
Oh boy.
Unless you high point it, unless you do a high point and a high point bullet or something like that, you can't do it. And it's a shame that we don't have that. And like, these are the things that I point out at times that some people got issues with when I point these things out in the past. And it's like, dang, if you're dwelling on the past so much, well, why don't you just play that and don't say anything else about Madden anymore? Like, why do you think I'm saying this in the first place? You know what I'm saying? I'm saying it because I'm bringing up these points from games of old because I want Madden to be much better than what we got. And that's the issue. You know what I'm saying? At this point. So like, when you talk about things like aggressive catch being a problem, it's definitely a big time problem based on this system that we have currently. Because this game is so static. That's why it's such a problem. And it shouldn't be like that. But unfortunately, that's what we have right now. You know, and until they make it better, and also the other thing too is, which we could definitely get into next, until people essentially either fall back from buying it and in the droves they buy it in, or they fall back from the microtransactioning that they do, and they do that in droves too. This is the situation that it's going to be in with some movement, but then it's going to get rolled back after a title update or two. That's why every year you see people play Madden and say, man, this game is great. And then maybe a month or two later, man, this game is trash. If that's the pattern, why do you think that is? I mean, think about it real quick. I'll just go off of these past few games. Notable games. Wideout DB interactions are introduced. Players need to actually adjust how they play the game. Like I said earlier, everybody and their mama wanted to play the ball, and then they get mad when they get torched. Were you holding X or were you pressing triangle, or Y? Oh man, no, I was holding out. Man, I was holding Y. I should be able to stop him anyway. No, Rex told you this shouldn't be. That's not how it works. What ends up happening? Game gets nerfed. Now all of a sudden it's 50-50 everywhere. And we know that's not football. That's not in the NFL. Now, I'm not saying there weren't other issues that existed in the game, but I'm just saying based off of key additions that they made. Madden 17. Me and Sim talking about it. Man, Sim told me, man, people throwing ducks out there, man, when they get hit. I mean, they throwing ducks. They're not going to be able to throw it directly and all that stuff. And dudes getting strip sacked and everything. Where's the strip sacks at? All of it's gone. Strip sacks go away. People fumbling, trying to throw the ball with the defender right in their face and want to throw dots and everything. All of that stuff was all in the game. After the first or second patch, gone. Nerfed. Now we're messing with a game that is a shell of what it should be. Again. This Madden 19. RPM. We were marveling about it and everything. Man, you can't take that linebacker and cover 3 routes no more. You can't do this, you can't do that. If you're starting to see that separation between a player that's heavier and more lumbering trying to get to a spot versus someone who's quicker, trying to cover that quicker receiver in space. You're starting to see that. First, second title update. We got super linebackers now again. we got what is it? Guys can't you can take one defender and cover 2-3 routes again. Like, RPM is basically nullified. This is what we're talking about, man. This stuff keeps getting rolled back. So when you see people say, I'm mad at first, now I'm okay. Well, excuse me. I'm okay with what they did, and now I'm pissed off. Or, oh man, this Madden is looking pretty good. This is like one of the best ever. So all of a sudden, man, this game is trash truck juice. That's a big part of what's happening. The game keeps getting rolled back. And that's why that's why when you hear me and Sim talk about it, that's why I can't put 100% the onus and just be like, man, it's the dev team. Because if the dev team puts a game out, think about it. If a dev team puts out a game one way and you're seeing a good number of people enthused and happy about what's happening with it, and then all of a sudden they got to roll it back. Why? You see what I'm saying? And then people saying now they want the same dev team fired that gave us something good, and now that it's in a worse condition, we want those people gone. No, there's clearly something else in playing, that plays a role in that kind of stuff. See what I'm saying? But that's the situation that we in with this, man. It sucks, but that's the situation we in.
Yeah, man, it's pretty crazy.
Yep.
It's pretty crazy. And while we're waiting for the guests to come on, I'm gonna piggyback off of what Smitty said about the money. Because I wanted to talk about that, man. Again, the link is in the description. It said, man, that Madden was the number 4 top-selling game, both physical and digital, in 2018. Okay? And in case you guys don't know who was ahead of it, I'm going to pull up the article here really quick, and I'll just give you my quick list here. So Red Dead Redemption 2, which in my opinion that just goes to show you how when a game is great, Red Dead came out later in the year and they already got that title. But that ain't fair to say because the anticipation for that. But I'm just saying. Call of Duty Black Ops after that. Number 3 was NBA 2K19 and number 4 was Madden 19. 5 was Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Number 6 was Spider-Man. 7, Far Cry 5. Number 8, God of War. 9 was Monster Hunter World. And 10 was Assassin's Creed Odyssey. So, basically, really, really quick, man, because I know we got one of our guests here now. I don't want to be too long. That's it right there, man. I mean, unfortunately, our community isn't as large in terms of affecting dollars. Because, all of us have our gripes. All of us, everybody who's going to come on here tonight, we all have our gripes, we all have our complaints, but the unfortunate part is there's so many people out there in the world, man, that they love the game. And that, to me, it scares me because I don't feel like that our influence, and I say our when I'm talking about myself, Smitty, even guys like PX1, who's been to events and down with the program and things like that, MBL guys, I kind of feel like things are going to fall on deaf ears a little bit. We'll see, because I have no idea what's going on in that building now in terms of the new direction. We'll see. But it just concerns me, man, because I just don't feel like that what we were striving for is still gonna pan out for us. We'll have to wait and see. So that's all I got, man. So Smitty, yourself, or looks like PX1 is on. Whichever one of you guys want to go ahead and speak your piece, feel free.
Yeah, what's up, guys? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we hear you.
I didn't know you were going to be on camera, Smitty. Otherwise, I would have got on camera so we could.
Oh no,
see
it's
each other.
cool. Yeah, no, it's cool. I mean, get nobody see. I just automatically by habit have it on, so like it's not showing on the YouTube or nothing like that. At least at this point, but yeah, no, it's all good, man.
Well, I just call in from my PC, so you get the play-by-play quality broadcasting voice. I don't know. You wanted to talk to me, so I'm gonna let you start. We can. You messaged me. I tried to call you yesterday.
Yeah. No, I'll bring that up in a moment because I know we were, just so that people know, like we were breaking bread about. Well, I wanted to break bread about CFM and moving that mode as far as that mode and its movement, which we know has been stagnant. So I definitely will touch on that. I will say this though about the sales, the sales numbers real quick. I want to touch base on that real quick here. Since we were talking about that, but the thing I will say about Madden ranking up, Madden ranks up there every year. Like, this isn't something new for them to do, and I mean when some people get, when they're shocked because they see like, oh man, how's Madden up there? How did they get to that point? I mean, football is a big time sport. We already know that. It's one of the biggest received sports across the board. You got people that literally will buy Madden, play it for a week, and they're done. So those numbers, which are a decent number of people, are going to be factored into this, to getting these numbers up. And on top of that, they don't even have, from the article, they don't even have the PC sales factored in yet. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. Now, I don't know how big this game was on PC, but you have a fairly decent number of people that are, at least from what I've seen so far, that are playing it. But it's not as close, not nearly as close as it would be to the console gamer. But no, I mean, Madden's going to be in that space, especially when there is no additional competition. There aren't 2 or 3 football games out there to go ahead and compete head to head with it. So when you look at it across the board, that's why when you look at the third place game, NBA 2K, basketball and football, basketball is a big time world renowned sport. And then at the same time, football is a big time, renowned sport. Not across the whole world necessarily, but it's huge in the US. So they're always going to make a big splash with their, when it comes to sales, even from a monthly period standpoint from when it launches. So it doesn't shock me. It doesn't shock me to see that game be ranked up in that top 10 list like that. Like, I don't see, and once again, just like what I said a few moments ago, unless you see a big time uptick of people just regressing from wanting to buy the game in general, which is highly unlikely, and just from the game in terms of its overall, like, people not messing with Ultimate Team like that, like, there would have to be something huge, like with what happened with for example, like Battlefield 5, or even with Star Wars Battlefront. There would have to be something huge prior to launch that would be like a huge negative blow that is seen like in a mass, like it's a mass appeal in a negative way. That's the only thing that I would see potentially that would be hurtful to a Madden launch, or even to, in terms of a sales impact, that'll impact it. You know what I'm saying? Because once again, no competition, only football game out there. It's going to do some kind of numbers. Even if they did have something negative happen, like, I could still see them still being in the top 10. If anything, they would be like closer to 10. So that's pretty much where I'm at with that.
I was looking, somebody tweeted at Rex when he tweeted that out yesterday, and he says, oh, well, they're the only football game, they should be up there. And I was like, it kind of aggravated me a little bit, because I'm like, he's just trolling. And so I just went and looked up the numbers, and I'm like, half of the U.S. population identifies themselves as an NFL fan. I'm like, he's right. They should be up there. Like, I mean, I looked at it like Spider-Man. Like, not as many people are into Spider-Man as they are the NFL. Of course, Madden should be up there. Right, so it was kind of a troll point, but it's true though. They should be up there. I don't have much to add on that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I think it's, you're right. I don't think much is going to change unless the sales numbers go backwards. But I think Sim was touching on this a little bit. By the way, what's up, Sim? I didn't even say what's up to you. I just was talking to Smitty. I feel like a terrible guest in your house.
No, what's going on?
I think you were talking. I think you're talking about it a little bit about the reality of maybe we are not the target demographic anymore. Something along that.
Yeah,
that line. And I think that, and this is kind of where me and Smitty's discussion came up the other day, is that's something that I've kind of realized is, I'm not a young gamer anymore. We got these new guys coming in. They like Diamond Dynasty, and they like my team and that kind of stuff. And They like the competitive stuff. And even though we don't like it, that doesn't mean that the majority of the people playing don't like it. And unfortunately, that's driving a lot of the things that they're doing. And I don't know if that's good for us, but it is what it is, right? Things change along the way, and you got to kind of adapt. I will say this, though. I'm a hardcore franchise guy. I've been playing franchise since I first started playing games. And, man, baseball is my first love, and I haven't played a game of franchise in the show in like 3 years. Like, all I play is Diamond Dynasty. I love Diamond Dynasty. I think it's awesome. I like it more than franchise mode. And then they have Road to the Show also, which is cool. So they have things that have drawn me away from franchise mode. And I think for a lot of people, that play Madden, especially if they're more casual, I think that's kind of what's happening with Madden is people are more drawn to MUT. They like the opening the packs and the unpredictability of who they're getting, but also the control of being able. So that's one of the things that's weird too, because like we're used to building our teams in franchise mode. But we got to make trades, and then sometimes the AI doesn't want it, or other times it's too easy. But then we still run out of resources at some point. And you're not limited by that. You can put anybody you want on your team. Now, granted, you might have to spend some money unless you're just grinding away at solos. But you can build whatever team you want. You can put whoever you want on. Like the other year, I built a team that was all Minnesota Vikings outside of like one linebacker spot, and I was complaining that they didn't give me more linebackers that were Vikings. But you can do whatever you want, and I think that's an appeal to people too. And that this traditional franchise mode of you're locked into this team and you got to make trades and you got to compete with people for this, they don't like that. They just like to be able to get who they want. And it's unfortunate for guys that like the franchise mode and to be able to build things and stuff like that. But I think that's just kind of the way we're shifting, and I think that's why you don't see as much of an effort into CFM if we want to transition to that direction. But it doesn't matter that 2K has got a great franchise mode, or even the show's got a great franchise mode. Madden was kind of behind the curve already because they went with the connected careers model in Madden, I think 13 or 25, whatever it was. And they spent like 3 years working on that. And then that's the same architecture that they're still operating off of. But now, with everything being focused on MUT, I don't think we're ever going to get that 3-year rebuild where they spend 3 years to completely rebuild it and give us a foundation that's capable of doing all the things that 2K does. Because there's just the money's not there. The money's not. And in business, you put your effort where the money is, and that's kind of where we're at, and that's leads into where me and Smitty left off the other day.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, see, this is what I'm saying. When the last time Madden had surpassed over 10 million copies sold was on PS2, where they innovated. Like, they innovated the whole game. They just didn't do one part, pretty much, and everything else is like, oh, we'll do a little bit here, a little bit there. It was like the whole game. So when you all of a sudden you go to a higher gen, more capability, more everything, and you're not even touching 10 million copies. My thing is this. Reason why I say all those different facets of franchise mode and everything, they need to be in there, that was done yesteryear, 2 gens ago, is because those things happen in the NFL. Like, they didn't go away, so why can't we do it in the game? You know what I'm saying? You're supposed to be the company whose mantra is, if it's in the game, it's in the game. You still go by that. You never changed it. And the thing is that, hey, sweetie.
I want to play me.
Huh?
I don't want to play me.
All right, sweetie. But no, the thing about it all is that when you look at Madden, and my spin is, I'm not saying don't build MUT. Don't invest in MUT. Just like when we have our talks, and when I talk with other guys, other GCs and everything like that, for some way, somehow they get it twisted thinking that I'm saying stop working on MUT. I've never said that. Well, all I'm saying is, for all the investment and everything that's going on with MUT, I would like to see that same energy put into your core gameplay and your franchise mode. Because ultimately, if you build that out, you're going to get more money. You're going to sell more. And on top of that, that kind of stuff is going to lead people into partaking in MUT.
Do you have proof of that though? That's the thing though. And I understand what you're saying, and I used to believe that for a while too. But I firmly believe that EA has metrics that say this is a net zero for us. Like if we put $1 million or $2 million extra into CFM, that's not gonna move the needle enough with getting those new sales coming back in. Like, I get what you're saying, but MUT, they have a direct correlation. They can say we make 200, 300, 400 million, whatever the revenue is that they bring in off of MUT. They can say if we put more, every dollar that we put into MUT, we get this much back on it, because they have that data there. But with CFM, you don't, because, you know, I guess you can look at how many sales you have of just guys that just play CFM, or, you know, a certain percentage of CFM, but I don't think they have that direct correlation where they can say if we put X amount of dollars into this, we're going to get X back, which is why I think that's why it's kind of go as we've been going, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying, but at the same time, heard from Rex say it directly multiple years over. CFM's, like, going off of the metric data and everything, CFM is their most played mode. So it's like, if it's the most played mode and MUT is your money making mode, and yet CFM is your most played mode, why not build it? Why not actually invest in building that up? And you could still do what you're doing with MUT. No one's saying take away from that or take off from that.
Well, so look at it this way. If what you're doing, if you're putting in 2 to 3 features, you're checking off 2 to 3 features off of your wish list every year, and you're in the amount of people that are playing your game, the usage continues to go up. From a dev standpoint, you may understand what your consumer wants, but I'm talking about if you're sitting in that boardroom and you're sitting there trying to decide budgets, and you're like, hey, this is what we're spending on CFM, and the usage continues to go up, we don't need to spend any more there because we're doing just fine. And so while it would be nice, I think we all want all of these things that are missing from it. I think from a usage aspect, they're standing up from a top level down, looking down, and they're saying, hey, the usage is going up. You guys are doing great. Keep doing what you're doing. We're going to just keep giving you what we've always given you. And so that's where I don't think it ever moves the needle. And it's unfortunate, but from us, but that's where I come back to, maybe we are the people our target has moved, whereas the average guy, like the new generation, the guys that were us 20 years ago, they don't need the same things out of franchise mode that we do, because they never experienced it, and they don't need something different. Maybe they cross-play in both MUT and franchise, and they don't need all that stuff. They just want to get in there and, you know, have fun, and they want it as simple as possible. I remember, you know, I don't remember where we were having this conversation, but I remember Mills talking about, hey, let's get together and do something and figure out a way to explain franchise mode and make it easier for people. Right? Because a lot of people are overwhelmed by it, and to us it's so bare bones because we've been playing it for so long. We're like, man, this sucks. There's nothing here. But for somebody new coming in that didn't know anything different, they're like, hey, this is fine. I'm having fun. I get in here, play with my team, make some trades, play some games.
I think that's the problem. I think to look at it from both sides, and I think, you know, me and PX1 actually, and MBL, we had this conversation in Austin last year. It's like, what's happened is, I think he hit it right on the head. We've kind of aged out of the demographic, and where I agree with Smitty, and I think the argument has always been, and not really argument, just a debate for everybody listening, because, you know, some people listening may think that, you know, we all disagree. We're not disagreeing. It's what PX1 is basically saying is, from a business standpoint, they're looking at things like, oh, okay, we don't really have to do that unless it makes us money. And I think proof of that too was when Rex came on and said, hey guys, let's try to think of some things that we could do in franchise that could be like a service, an ongoing service like MUT. But then what Smitty is saying, and what I always say too, is we try to fight back against that, because we feel like for them to tell us and come out and say, well, in order for us to build on it, we got to monetize it. That's what we're like, no, you don't. You don't have to do that. Now, if that's your choice, Okay, we understand business, but you do not have to do that to build franchise.
See, part of the problem, and what ultimately will lead to downfalls is when you just make it about business and not the entertainment factor. Because what happened to EA Sports Big was they chose to be about business and not about entertainment. And that led to the downfall because all their product was watered down all of a sudden when the same studios, the same talent core you had weren't always you put out a game that's on point, good, received by the public very well, everything else, and then all of a sudden it just falls down the toilet all of a sudden. It's because it all of a sudden it became about trying to get the cash, and whatever's getting the cash, just do more of that only or mainly, and not actually go for entertainment. You go for making an entertaining product, people will keep coming back for it more and more and more. You just go away from that and just slap on whatever you want. It's like this. It's like looking at the MCU versus DC with their movies, right? It's like you start out like Marvel, you get to Infinity War, and then all of a sudden you act like DC. We just gonna just start cranking out movies just because. They got Avengers, we just gonna throw Justice League, but you still didn't even show your whole team. How come they don't have movies yet and lead up to it? No, we ain't got time. We making money, we hot. Let's just make. When you do that, that's your stuff gonna fall off.
How do you know when it falls off?
It may not start initially, but it will fall. And that's what I'm saying. Look.
EA's always been like that though. EA's always been reactionary. They've always been reactionary. They're not. They adjust to, like, what you're saying is kind of, if you build it, they will come, right? I just saw Field of Dreams on MLB.
No, yeah, I mean,
but that's kind of what you're saying is build out franchises.
That's what they did, though.
And more people will come, and it will prevent people from falling off because I don't disagree with you that there could be this bubble where people hit and say, okay, we're tired of microtransactions, and then it starts to fall off, and then they scramble and say, oh no, what do we got to do now? Now we got to invest more in franchise mode. Yeah. You're saying do that now so that you don't hit that bubble. Well, I don't think they believe that MUT is going to fall off because those card collecting modes are so popular. It's a little bit different than Battlefield or Battlefront, where it's pay to play and you're getting loot boxes and you're only able to get certain characters, and it's much smaller. It's a much smaller arena in which they're working in, and people are like, I can't even compete. I can't even play this game on a base level, and that's what people are revolting against. But you've got, there's so many solos and things you can do. Like, there's so many ways to play that for free that I don't think that's ever going to fall off. So from a corporate standpoint, like I said, like when you're talking about like DC and Marvel, like, how do you know when you're doing wrong? How do you know when you've oversaturated the market or you've went to that well too many times? When you put out that movie and you're not getting the sales, that's when you know not to do it. As long as people are coming out and they're buying it every year, you're going to keep doing it because the market's telling you that it's working. And I think that's what's happening with Madden. Is right now, as much as a lot of us old dogs don't like what they're doing and we don't like some of the direction that they're going, overall, I think their sales and their engagement rates are saying, hey, we're doing fine. We're doing the same as we did last year, or we're doing better than we did last year. If you listen to the investor calls, I haven't listened to them recently, but I know as early the middle part of last year, they were doing fine. They were making money. Madden was making money. They were hitting their projected targets. If that's what you're doing every year and you're hitting your projected targets, your consumer is telling you that you're doing okay. You don't change anything until something drastic happens, and that's unfortunately where I think we're at. And like, unless something drastic happens, which I don't see happening, I think we're just going to stay in the same box that we're in. They're going to check off 2 to 3 boxes off of that checklist every year and keep going. Now, gameplay is a different story. That one, I don't know. But again, maybe, like Sim said earlier, people in general are happy with the gameplay. It's just us who are used to something different. We're the only ones complaining about it.
Yeah, that's like I said, that's definitely a valid point. That's why I said, like, Usually from a casual front, you got people that'll play the game for 5 minutes and put it down pretty much. Like they'll play it for a week or two and they're good, but the sale already counts at that point. You know what I'm saying? Now the thing is though, see, even with that, and I mean, yeah, we look at the young kid. We can always play the young kid angle and just act like, oh, they're always going to be naive. They're not going to pay attention to any information or anything like that out there. But the problem is, you got youngins up here that are pulling up the business information. It's not widespread and it's not mass, but they're pulling up that information that we wasn't doing all that back then. And if we did, it was only a small handful of people that even paid attention to that kind of information. They weren't worried about the business stuff. Now, when you're seeing the business stuff being on the front end, like you're hearing people, even the most casual gamer, talk about how I could tell they invested in this game because of how this, that, and the third play out. There's more. It's getting more and more and more to those kind of points where people are going to be paying attention to that. And from that, EA is going to have to either get with it and make a better game, or they will end up falling. And that's what I'm saying. It may not be fall. I'm not saying fall is in, oh, it's just going to be one shot and they're done. But I'm saying you're gradually going to see, like I said, EA Sports big. How you go from putting out these quality titles and you just hitting to all of a sudden you just just falling down. Like you can tell by what you're doing and the quality of product you're putting out. It's just people get tired of it. Like they're going to it's going to wear out at some point. At what point that'll be, that's up in the air. But all I'm saying is that from my standpoint is look at who's doing better than you. Guys like 2K. 2K is the best example, basically. 2K is a game that went from not selling nearly as much as you, not generating as much revenue potentially. I don't know how much revenue necessarily they generate off of 2K as far as microtransactions and all that, but at least from sales, I can say. From being beneath you to matching and surpassing you. Like, I think this is the second year of them selling over 10 million copies. You know what I'm saying? Like, when's Madden doing that? Madden easily could be selling 12, in my opinion. If they innovated across the board, they could be moving 12 million copies a year. Easy, I feel. And that's with Ultimate Team, transactions, doing all that other stuff. If they just innovated the whole game. And that's my thing. For a sport, like you said. Like you said earlier, when we talked about the sales rankings and all that stuff, all these people across the world, especially in the U.S., give a care about football like that. You put out, just think of a casual fan that plays a game like Madden that has the innovation and all that stuff done to it. You're going to have a heck of a lot more people playing the game casually, let alone hardcore. And then on top of that, people that will mess with franchise mode, they will look. I don't play the card collecting games like that, but I've said this to Sim, and I've even done this on set it in streams and all that stuff. I play my team. I play my team way more than I play MUT. Because now it's of course because of core gameplay though. That plays a major part in it. But also the fact of, just like I said, from what the game has, like I can play a few games of my league or play some games of Play Now, and it's like, man, these players all be feeling different. You know what? Let me go ahead and jump in this my team and check that out. Let me see what they got going on over there. And it's because of what the main game has, or even what these other modes have. It keeps me engaged because I know that I can experience something different in my league. I mean, excuse me, not my league. In my team, with the different ways players play and animate and move and et cetera, et cetera. And if I can grind up, get this particular card or cards or whatever, that's tight, because I know if I get that David Robinson, that Hakeem Olajuwon, or that Michael Jordan, they're going to play and animate differently. They're going to feel like their personal counterparts. You could see, like you've seen earlier in the year, Goo, you know, he'll go online and talk about Ultimate Team, promoting Walter Payton. Payton don't run he runs no different than anybody else in the game. Nobody else in the game.
I agree with that. They need to differentiate players more.
Yeah. Just doing that kind of stuff alone in your game is going to get you a lot more sales, a lot more revenue, a lot more people trying to bust open packs and bundles and stuff. That's it. When you bring that entertainment value into your game, you go and get that. But like I said, I mean, I'm not against you with your point at all in terms of they looking at the numbers and we good. We get that little uptick in our numbers. Hey, we straight right where we at. I can't get mad at that. You know, I can't get mad at them for it, but it is frustrating when I can fire up, like I said Sim earlier, I could fire up a PS2 version of this game done in 2005 and it's outclassing gameplay and mode facets. That's crazy. I can't possibly do that with FIFA, PES, MLB, NHL, any other sports game. I can't do it with. Only Madden I can do that with.
Okay,
and that's sad.
You're leaving some context out of that. First off, if we all remember back when the transition went to the PS3 days, I remember reading an article, and I've talked about this before. I don't remember if it was on here or not. There was an article from a dev that talked about the manual for the PS3 was like, it was huge. It was like 8-9 inches thick. Like the jump that they made from the PS2 to the PS3 and the complexity and programming for that made the games infinitely more difficult to program for. So which is why when they moved over to that next gen, they stripped out so much stuff. It's because they couldn't make it work right on the new system. And so we're still feeling the effects of that a lot of that stuff that got pulled out has never come back in because they couldn't figure out how to get it back in on the PS3 days. And now we're in the PS4 days and the game has changed into the MUT thing. And so I don't think they're even really focusing on a lot of that stuff now, but that's context that gets left out in that changing in the generations changed the technology and made it more difficult to do some of that stuff. And they had to pull it out. And that's why, I mean, even a franchise mode, like I said, they spent 3 years working on connected careers. Yeah. People talk about Madden doesn't ever innovate. EAA doesn't even ever innovate. Well, they tried to innovate with connected careers and they failed miserably. And now the entire CFM system is still based on that same framework. They're still building off of that, and that holds them back. Like 2K went back, what was it, 4 or 5 years ago? They completely redid theirs, but they redid theirs thinking forward to what they have now. So they have the infrastructure to build off of it, which makes it easier for them to add all the stuff. Madden's trying to put like a 3-story house on a double wide trailer foundation. Basically, it's just it's not as easy for them to do it. And the other thing, and I've made this point before, is with online franchise, the way that the gamer is, they're not going to be happy if they say, well, we're only going to put this in offline franchise, we're not going to put it in online franchise also. That's one of the things that I think has always held Madden back franchise-wise also, is everything that they put into the mode, they make sure it works in online. And so that is kind of, I think that holds them back a little bit, that they always have to test it against online. Whereas if they did what, the show did, or even 2K did for a season or two and just not really focused on online and they just focused on offline, they could probably do a whole lot. But then you have all the online guys that throw their hands up and be like, no, you left us out. You didn't give us all that stuff. And I don't know. I think they're in a weird spot. I will say this, and I'll let you guys go if you want to bring anybody else on. I can say this from 100% with being in rooms with them and talking to them, that John and Ben and Red Zone, I don't remember what his first name is, all those guys that they got working on CFM, they are 100% capable of doing any of the stuff that we want to. They are not idiots.
Absolutely.
I'm the first one to admit that I used to rag on John all the time. I'm like, I don't even know if this dude plays the game. How are all these things wrong with it? Then I met him and I talked to him. Like, the dude is completely capable, and his team, they're completely capable. Ben is like one of the most passionate dudes I've ever met. Like, that guy's awesome. They know what to do with franchise. They just don't get the resources because the guys up top are sitting there doling out the budget saying, hey, people are playing your mode, you're doing just fine, this is working, just keep doing what you're doing. And that's hamstringing them. So appreciate you guys having me on. Always good to chat with you guys. Miss Smitty, we can always pick it up later on, but you guys have a good show, and Sim, don't forget about your Washington Huskies.
Oh yeah. I'm trying to get see, I commented a little bit this week. I'm trying to remember to just go to Discord and be more active, so that's my plan for this season.
Yeah, man, you guys won the title last year. We're gonna fire it back up next week. So yeah, I know it's hard, but we like to see you guys in there. They all feel happy when you jump through. We got a celebrity in there with us.
Yeah, right.
All right, guys, you have a good night.
All right, bro. You too, man.
Yep.
Yeah, man. Very, very, very interesting stuff there, man. What I wanted to say, really. Oh no, go ahead, Smith.
Go ahead.
Oh, no.
The one thing I just want to add on to that though is this. See, that goes back to the point that we've made already. EA needs to invest in the game. That it screams that when those kind of points are made. The devs are capable, but they have limited resources. They're built on this old platform, and the transition to PS3 was tough. Okay, so how come FIFA is so far ahead? How come NHL is so further ahead? You see what I'm saying? See, when games in your own house in the sports category that make a game on every 9 months or what have you are smashing you like that, that's the problem. So I can't really give the benefit of the doubt on that. You see what I'm saying? And I mean, yes, Madden has legacy problems. Yes, there's animation problems. Yes, there are a lot of different things that are wrong with the game. Give the resources in terms of manpower and finances, invest it into your game, and then you get those things ironed out in a much quicker turnaround time. That's the point that Sim and I have been making for the longest time. But at the same time, like I said, we're not saying the points that PX is making is wrong. We're not saying he's wrong by any means. He's not wrong with what he's saying. But this is part of both elements are part of the reality. Because when you look at and this is the other key part too. What are the people above the dev team, bosses, execs, etc., allowing them to do? If you're not going to allow them to do the work that they feel is necessary to be able to do, and you're like, hey, I'm looking at the numbers, oh, it's okay, we good where we at. What do you think's going to happen with the devs? Me and Sim been to the studio before, just like PX. We've heard many brilliant ideas we've heard some very brilliant ideas from some of these people in that building that would take Madden to unforeseen levels. And they could do it, they could do it on this console gen. The problem is, when somebody tells you up above you can't do it, it's going to show when the product come out. Oh, okay, well, that's not there. Oh, okay, well, that's not there. What about that idea? Oh, no, I couldn't do it. Somebody's telling them you can't do it. So there is a limit to creative freedom in the building. And this is all part of the problem. And this is what I'm saying. EA is moving units and all that good stuff at this moment in time, but you also got to remember, look, you have these tournament guys that are getting turned off from Madden. These people that are you got dudes that are scanning your game that literally rather play Fortnite instead of playing Madden right now, and they're talking about your game not in a positive way like that. I mean, yeah, they still play Madden, of course. They just ain't quit, but they're not the most happy with this game right now. But see, you want to know the thing is, Problem, Skimbo, Dubby, all these guys, they're all going to be purchasing Madden next year. It's a lock, regardless of their frustration. You see what I'm saying? And they're all going to play Ultimate Team, and they're all going to be buying bundles, and they're all going to be doing all that. And then the next thing is going to frustrate them. You see what I'm saying? So it's like that stuff is going to continue on, like what we were all saying and in agreement with. Madden, and my thing is, they keep going the way they're going. There will become a time and point where they will get upset. There will be some whether it's just franchise fatigue or people just getting tired of it or whatever. But there will come a point that if Madden does not truly step their game up in a proactive fashion instead of being reactive, their game will mess around and fall. And the numbers will mess around and fall just enough, and then the NFL be like, "Yo, what's up? What's really good?" You know what I'm saying? So I'm just saying, and I'm not saying get to that point, EA. I'd rather see EA do what they did back then and be the dominant force that they were back then, making sports games. That's what I want. That's what we want. You make a great game, we good. You know what I'm saying? Like, we good. Shoot, that's what it's all about at the end of the day. But but it is what it is right now. So go ahead, Sim. Sorry, bro.
Oh man, let's give a shout out to Matt.
Oh, Matt 10L. Matt 10L. Oh man.
Appreciate the love, man. And I'm gonna say this on air so you guys can hold me to it, man. I just realized after all this time, I never sent Smitty some of his donation money. So I gotta definitely give Smitty his share. I mean, I owe Smitty probably a couple hundred right now. So that definitely will come your way, Smitty. We'll work that out. It just dawned on me from way back to when Antoine was dropping us with them big donations. So yeah, I'm gonna make sure we take care of that. But yeah, Matt, man, appreciate the donation, and any of you guys who ever do it. If you did it before and we forgot, if you plan on doing it in the future, we thank you in advance. But man, not a whole lot more to say. I mean, we could pretty much go ahead and wrap it up, man. We've covered everything. I will just comment a little bit on, I will say this, and I don't know if PX is still listening. The reason why you can hear him say things like he said before he went, because again, I'll say this much. Him and I and OSU from MBL, we all had the opportunity to attend, and Deuce Douglas. We all attended, an event for EA, for franchise, back last year. I think it was in May, or something like that. And
by the way, I added Nathan on because I know he said he wanted to say something.
Oh yeah.
Well, so I added him on too. But go ahead, Sim. Go ahead, bro.
Yeah, we'll finish up with that because we'll have a good 11 minutes left. So yeah, so really quick, he was there, and his comment is probably stemming from this. When we talked to John and Ben Hamil, and most of you guys know Ben, there were things that John explained that he had ready to go for franchise, and you could just see the look in their eyes when they was like, yeah, it got cut. And it's just one of those things, man. It's one of those situations where that's what happens, and they're faced with that. And when you see these things happen, just like PX was able to see for himself, it's a tough situation. It's a real tough situation, man. When you really get to see the passion that the devs have and what they actually want to do versus what they're able to do, and there's no excuse. And there's no excuse in terms of EA Sports, but we're just saying these are the types of things that happen, man, that they have really no control over as far as the dev team, and they just need to open those wallets and stop playing. That's really all I got to say. But yeah, go ahead, Nathan, man. If you're on, man, we appreciate you coming on. And yeah, enough of us talking. What you got for us, man?
Hey, thanks, guys. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
All right. So, I think we got a good glimpse over the last couple weeks as to what maybe is going on inside EA when these debates happen, because we saw a very prominent game changer post on Twitter that a problem with franchise mode is that the users don't understand. It's running people off. That is, the mode is too complex for people. But that is directly opposite of what Rex said for the last 2 years. And specifically, if you go back and you look at when Rex was on the Four Verts podcast in January of 2018, that franchise mode was something that they needed to build around, that they were posting record numbers, that this was a mode they needed to invest in. And he said that they had not invested in it because of the technology advances, moving to a new engine, getting things in line to move the game forward, okay? So that's why he said they didn't invest in franchise mode. Now, for that crowd of people who said that the user base of Madden is not smart enough to understand franchise mode or how the league works, let me say this. In the years preceding, 16, 17, whatever the case may be, when they chose a marquee feature for gameplay, they chose wide receiver defensive back interaction. They chose to improve physics. And every single gameplay advancement that they have chosen to sell has been something that the online sim crowd, you look at OS, you look at Reddit, you look at YouTube, look all over, and there's a narrative of people saying, we want this in gameplay. And those are the features that they chose. That same people is telling you, improve your franchise mode, and you do that by replicating features that everybody else has in their game. You do it by giving back the features that were lost in transition. So I do not buy this narrative that the average Madden consumer is too dumb to understand franchise mode. That makes no sense to me at all. I've never understood that. And if that debate is going on, why did you listen to the same group of intelligent people who told you, give us wide receiver defensive back interactions, improved zone coverages? Nobody breaks down this game's ability to display zone coverage is better than Kia. And it's not dumb people who wanted them to put in improved zone coverages. This group of young NFL fans, man, they're smarter than ever. They understand this game better than ever before. And they just want a franchise mode that reflects the quality of the NFL league. That's all I've got. I appreciate you guys.
Oh, man. Well, round of applause for that call, first and foremost. Good stuff there. Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, there you go. Okay.
Yeah, man. I agree with him. I agree with him in the sense of, I know the narrative is out there, but if anybody in the building is really driving off of that, come on, man. I mean, in a way, it's disrespectful. You look at all of these other games. So I guess here's the question: Are we to believe that only this consumer only plays Madden? They don't play any other game that's complex. They don't play no shooters or anything. Cause let's face it, I mean, it's simple to us. But remember when you had to learn all of the button combinations for a shooter? And remember that, oh, wait a minute, grenade is over here. Oh, wait, this is there. Oh, wait, here's how I switch the weapon. Oh, and this is how I throw that. And you're not going to tell me that franchise in the state that it is now is too hard to understand. Come on, man. I'm just...
Nah. See, this is once again. This is why I'm saying when we talk about the youth, like that whole the young Johnny and little Timmy and all that stuff. They keep on. It is a valid point, but it's not. You don't build a house on that, because a lot of kids, a lot of these younger gamers and stuff like that. Listen, that's just like, okay, look at Street Fighter. we grew up off of Street Fighter 2 and all that stuff, right? Street Fighter 2 was around for a long time. Street Fighter 2, Killer Instinct, all that stuff. Well, these kids, guess what they're playing now? They're playing Street Fighter 5. The formula didn't drastically change, but there's a lot of different controls and intricate moves and all kinds of stuff that didn't exist back then.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? But the thing is, they just kept pushing the bar up higher and higher and higher. Same with Mortal Kombat. They just unveiled Mortal Kombat 11. They add these new mechanics, change things up, switch up stuff how it works. More and more and more. This new game, Anthem, that's getting all this, buzz and everything. You think only adults are playing that? No, these kids are going to be playing that too. You know, I play a good amount of Black Ops. I hear kids on there all the time, getting 30 kills and all that stuff. These kids, they will learn how to play the game, and they will mess around. They'll take their L's and they will learn how to play that. But when it comes to Madden, we keep cheapening the blow. You know what I'm saying? Oh, no, man, we can't make a franchise mode like that. It's gonna be too hard. Oh no, we can't have the gameplay be authentic and true. Man, you talking about straight up organic gameplay? No, we can't do that, man. People can't handle it. No, they can handle it. The problem is that as soon as the game comes out, people don't want to they don't want to face that. You see what I'm saying? It's like they're scared to face the fact that the game is different. That's just like when, like, using the fighting games example, just make this point real quick. When fighting games, they always have been a side-scrolling fighting game. When Tekken came out, that was revolutionary. Well, no, excuse me, Virtual Fighter came out. Got to get it right. When that came out first, that was revolutionary because you can actually rotate around the player. What did people end up doing at first? Oh man, I don't like this. I'm gonna play Street Fighter. All right, go ahead and play it. But then those same gamers, what ended up happening when they wanted to get good and they started to see Virtual Fighter and those games get popular? Oh, you saw those same gamers learn how to play. They adjusted. You see what I'm saying? They still are an ace at Street Fighter, but then they'll turn right back around and say, let's play that Virtual Fighter. Oh, I know how to play now. Oh, there's this new game Tekken out. Oh yeah, I'm gonna get up on that too. And then you got other games, Killer Instinct and such. So it's like the gamer evolves. So when the new gamer comes along, they may not know about the history of playing Street Fighter Original and all that stuff. But the way the game plays now, it's built off of that tradition. And it's branched all the way out. So when they step in, they're stepping into a challenging arena if they want to compete. When they decide, oh, I want to get online, they're going into a challenging arena. And the game has the mechanics and all that good stuff in order to be great. But at the same time, you have to learn. There is no, oh, we're going to nerf this, so all you got to do is hit a button, and one button, and you could do all the combos and everything. No, you actually got to learn. You see what I'm saying? You actually got to learn. And there is no, well, I'm going to manipulate the system and cheat. Because on that tournament scene, if the game does all that stuff, they're not going to let you do it, or the game would have to be updated, or else they'll pull it. See, that's why I love the fighting game scene. That's true esports. This here with Madden and all that ain't no. And the fact that these games are pretty much on recordings right now, we're looking at recordings, dude. This isn't even live. Like, come on, dude. We should be seeing this stuff live as it's coming out, man. And like I said, we want to see these games come out and be competitive. We should be able to get our hands on the sticks and start playing and be like, yo, this game stepped up. Put it on sim mode. Oh yeah, it's on and popping. Now it's about to be a battle. Gizzy, stop. But it's about to be a real battle. That's what it needs to be like. Not, well, we watered it down. Why? That's why NBA Live fell as hard as it did, because they're trying to make a game for players from 9 to 92. No, you need to make basketball, make it challenging according to the sport of basketball, with the mechanics and all that good stuff, so that way you can truly see who's good, stick skill-wise, control-wise, all that good stuff, but it's all in the realm of the sport of basketball. It's as simple as that. These kids, just Sim is a father, I'm a father as well. My daughter is getting sharper and sharper, and she's only 3. You know what I'm saying? Sims, I already know. Azura, most definitely, same with him, and others across the board. People watching it, you know, listening to this podcast here. It's the same deal. They're gonna get sharper and sharper, and before you know it, they're doing stuff at a rate that you couldn't even possibly believe. I ain't hearing that. I can't fully accept that whole, well, because they're kids, they can't handle it. No. Kids are playing, like we said earlier before, and I'll throw it to Sim so we can close it out. Kids are playing Fortnite, a game where people celebrate winning a game, one game. Okay, kids spending all kind of hours playing that game, going through the challenges of building stuff and everything, all of these different intricate things that you could do in that game. Kids are playing. And we talking about Madden like it's nuclear fusion or something like that we're trying to figure out. No, it's football. Let them learn. Put the stuff in there, and that's it, bruh. That's it. So, but go ahead, Sim. I'll throw it to you to close it out, bro.
Yeah, that's it. I don't really have nothing to add. I mean, you're really missing me with this nonsense, man. I'm sorry. I just gotta say it. You're missing me with it's too difficult. The bottom line is, man, again, the culture will have to change at EA, Tiburon specifically, on their own merit, or competition has to be there. And since I don't think there's gonna ever be, I don't foresee any direct competition, meaning another respectable NFL football game from a top tier company. I don't see that happening. Then that means the culture has to change in that building at the top level. I've gotten to the point where I don't even want to say it ain't the devs no more. I think that's a broken record. I mean, but the culture has to change, man. They have to be willing to provide, like Smitty always says it, the game has to be developed from the top down. Everything. Every year there should be something fly happening in MUT, in franchise, in gameplay, in the online arena. Every year. That's what it should be. The game should be built from the ground up. The foundation should follow itself from gameplay to play now to franchise to MUT. And really the only difference that it should really be with MUT and regular gameplay is the fact that you have these special players and they all behave like themselves, because now they've reached out and they got player personality in there. Player likeness and tendencies, and just like how we saw again in all pro football, where we still see it. We still see clips out there showing you Dan Marino's throw style and John Elway and the Walter Payton with the scissor kick and all of that. Just an example of that. That should be the only difference between franchise and MUT, is that now you're aiming for these top tier current and past players that play like themselves, whereas in in franchise, you're trying to build your team from an organic standpoint, free agency and draft. Should be the only difference. That's it. And until the culture there changes to that, I think, unfortunately, it's going to be like what PX1 said. I hope it's not like that, but I really feel like we're sliding back into that. We address 3 or so major things every year. And I don't know, man. We shall see. But all right, guys. Somehow I've gotten through this show, man. I can feel my chest and my throat is getting a little scratchy. I hope I'm really not getting sick. I'm going to see how I feel in the morning, which will decide whether I'm going to go to work or not, but we'll see. But outside of that, man, I would love to tell you guys enjoy some football this weekend, but if you're like me, I won't be watching the Pro Bowl. It's just, there's no reason to. For me personally, I don't get any excitement on watching it. And then we'll talk about the Super Bowl come next week. But outside of that, man, Smitty alluded to it a little earlier. If you guys are into games like Anthem, I believe a demo is out now. For those that don't know, Smitty, let the people know how they're able to obtain it. Is it something you can just search for, or is it like through a special code or anything like that?
Now, some guys were giving away codes earlier, as you saw, or what have you. Pretty much, I think when you reserve the game, then you get the access to the demo. So if you already did that, that's how you gain access to it. Unless they're putting it out in general at this point, I don't think it's something that they got a general demo out at this point. That's why I think this is the VIP demo. So it's like some people gonna be able to play it right, like at this point. And then I'm assuming they're gonna have another demo that'll be more of the general public. Everybody can get on demo.
Got you.
Yep.
Yeah, I didn't reserve it. So I will definitely be following guys like yourself to see what your thoughts are on that game.
All right.
But outside of that, guys, we are out. Hope everybody has a nice, safe weekend and be great. And God bless. And we'll catch you guys next week. Peace.
Peace.